The screen you are watching is not a window, it is a mirror, and the mirror reveals a truth society prefers to bury. The most valuable resources on earth are not oil or gold. They are attention and information. You, the creator, crave the former. But the majority of your audience, the silent, unseen mass, is here for the latter. Look at your analytics. You see the numbers, views, watch time, impressions, but beneath the surface, there is a gulf. A vast, silent majority that consumes everything, yet contributes nothing. They never like, they never share. They certainly never comment. Who are they? Are they merely shy? Are they digitally lazy? Are they benign phantoms floating through the digital ether? The world wants you to believe they are the passive majority. But I am here to tell you, through the lens of dark psychology and Machiavellian strategy, that they are anything but passive. They are the silent predators. They are the highest form of strategic intelligence operating in the digital ecosystem. And until you understand their architecture, you will remain trapped in the performance loop designed for the loud, the reactive, and the strategically weak. This is a masterclass in reading the unwritten rules of human influence. This is about understanding the 90% of human interaction that happens in the shadow, not the light. You are currently paying the ultimate cost, your attention. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know exactly who is watching you, what they are taking, and how their silence is often a superior strategy to your constant, noisy participation. This is not a feel-good analysis. This is a cold, psychological truth. It's the lesson your history teacher should have taught you, that power is held not by those who shout the loudest, but by those who observe the longest. The man who watches and waits, the one whose name you never learn. He is the one who understands the dynamics of the room or the comment section better than anyone fighting in it. His silence is not apathy, it is leverage. If the sound of that truth, the quiet, unsettling truth, makes you lean closer to your screen, then you already share a trait with the silent 90%. Hit the like button, not for me, but for the algorithm. Let the system know you are not afraid of information that exposes the game. Do it now or you'll forget. The memory of dark truth is fleeting. Now let us descend into the architecture of the mind we call the silent predator. To grasp the power of silence, you must first accept the numbers. Begin with the foundational mathematical principle of all digital communities, the 99-1 rule. This rule, observed by the Nielsen-Norman Group, is not merely statistics, it is a law of human entropy. It states that 90% of users are lurkers. They consume content but never contribute. They never comment, rarely react. They are ghosts feeding on the data stream. 9% of users are intermittent contributors. They occasionally comment, they share, they offer brief replies. They are the background noise, providing minor engagement to keep the engine running. 1% of users are heavy contributors. They generate almost all the new content, start the debates, leave the voluminous comments. They are the actors on the stage demanding the spotlight. The psychological revelation here is brutal. 9 out of 10 people who watch your content believe their silence is more valuable than their contribution. Ask yourself why. Why does the vast majority, the statistically dominant force, choose to remain inert? The answer lies in strategic cost-benefit analysis operating deep within the subconscious mind. The silent user has calculated the cost of entry and found it wanting. The cost of commenting is exposure, vulnerability, and effort. The reward is often fleeting validation or a pointless digital argument. The cost of watching is zero. The reward is pure, unfiltered information. The Machiavellian mind understands this instantly. Never expend energy when passive absorption yields a superior strategic advantage. The 90% are practicing digital resource conservation. They are waiting for the 1% to tire themselves out. The most classic and disturbing mechanism driving the non-commenter is the diffusion of responsibility, known in its distilled form as the bystander effect. We learned this chilling truth from the Milgram experiments and the tragic case of Kitty Genovese. When individuals are part of a crowd, their sense of personal responsibility for action, whether it's stopping an assault or leaving a helpful comment, evaporates. In the digital world, the logic is lethal in ambiguity. Does my comment matter? Is the creator asking for real input or just engagement fodder? A cost of intervention. If I defend a point, I invite a counter-attack. If I agree, I risk association with the inevitable mob. A critical mass illusion. Hundreds have watched this. Surely someone else will comment what I'm thinking. The lurker feels the psychological pressure to act, but the crowd, represented by the view count and the handful of existing comments, provides the perfect moral exit ramp. They have outsourced their ethical or conversational duty to the 1% who are already performing. This is where the dark triad intersects with collective psychology. The non-commenter is not necessarily a cold psychopath, but they are utilizing a key mechanism of psychopathy, emotional detachment, as self-preservation. By watching and remaining silent, they detach from the content's moral gravity, the community's drama, and the creator's emotional plea. They become spectators in the digital coliseum, deriving enjoyment or knowledge from the combat without ever risking their own skin. Take a moment. Think of the last time you saw something truly shocking or profound online, and you simply scrolled past. You performed a digital act of omission. You were the silent predator. If you recognize that moment of strategic detachment, drop a brain emoji in the comments right now. Acknowledge the shadow you just encountered, and know this detachment, this calculated silence, is the foundation of their power. But what they do with the information they acquire in secret is far more unsettling. We will get to that, but first, let us examine the supposed positive traits of the lurker and expose their tactical reality. Psychologists often label the silent observer with seemingly positive, even virtuous traits: high self-awareness, reflective mindset, independence from validation. This is the comforting mask the silent majority wears, but beneath it lies the cold engine of strategy. We must reframe these traits as tactical defenses: the myth of high self-awareness, the strategy of self-monitoring. The lurker is hyper-conscious not of their feelings, but of the social cost of misstep. They are constantly self-monitoring. They see the fate of the hasty commenter who leaves an ill-phrased reply and is immediately swarmed, corrected, or cancelled. Their silence is a perfect preventative shield. They don't engage because they have calculated that the reward for perfection is too small and the cost of error is too high. This isn't self-awareness, it's a hyper-developed social risk assessment mechanism. They are the supreme social strategists, the myth of reflective mindset, the strategy of pure acquisition. When others rush to comment, performing a cognitive shortcut known as premature closure, the silent observer delays their judgment. They are not reflecting for wisdom. They are reflecting to acquire and integrate the core resource. They understand that the value of information decays the moment it is externalized. A commenter externalizes their resource, a lurker internalizes it. The silent mind acts as a deep storage database, integrating new patterns of human behavior while the noisy mind is focused on external performance. The myth of independence from validation, the strategy of superior control. The commenter is a transactional figure. I give you a comment, I expect validation, a like reply in return. They are dependent on an external locus of control. The lurker, however, operates with an internal locus of control. Their reward is not the like button. Their reward is the acquisition of the content itself. They are fully self-contained. This independence is not a virtue, it is a superior tactical position. The person who needs nothing from you is the hardest to manipulate. The silent viewer is immune to your reward system. This makes them strategically dominant. Now, we must look deeper into the shadow. The immediate assumption is that the dark triad traits, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, belong to the troll or the aggressive commenter. This is a shallow interpretation. The most dangerous manifestation of the dark triad is not the troll, it is the strategic lurker. The Machiavellian strategist views the world as a game board and people as resources. The comment section is a noisy, chaotic field of battle. Why would a true strategist enter the fray? They wouldn't. The Machiavellian lurker is executing the principle of indirect action. They watch the conflicts. They track the vulnerabilities of the 1%. They identify the social dominance hierarchies forming in the replies. They absorb the creator's true pressure points. Their goal is to amass social capital without expenditure. They are not reading the video for entertainment. They are reading the comments for a vulnerability map of the community. They are looking for the names of the people who are easily triggered, easily persuaded, or easily exploited in a future private interaction. Their silence is simply the gathering of intelligence before the strike. The traditional narcissist craves the spotlight, the 1%, but the strategic narcissist cannot risk their inflated self-image on the possibility of a poorly received comment. Their non-engagement is fueled by a sense of superior observation. They believe, "My insight is too profound for this comment section. These people are all low-level. I am above the fray. The creator will recognize my true brilliance through my silence and depth of view." Their non-participation is an active, narcissistic performance of intellectual elitism. They are not lazy, they are positioning themselves as the intellectual sovereign who watches the peasant squabble. Their reward is the internal satisfaction of knowing they are smarter, calmer, and more refined than the noisy contributors. The psychopathic element is subtle, often manifesting as an emotional deficit combined with a need for stimulation, a zero-consequence thrill. The lurker can watch the most extreme, divisive, or emotionally manipulative content without the need to process or react. They derive a cold, intellectual satisfaction from observing human chaos, knowing there is zero consequence to their own identity. This is the digital equivalent of watching a car crash with clinical detachment. The power of immunity. They are immune to the creator's emotional pleas for engagement because they lack the empathetic impulse to respond to such external demands. Their silence is a symptom of emotional imperviousness. When you combine these latent dark triad elements, the silent predator emerges. A strategist Machiavellian who believes themselves superiors, narcissist, and operates with zero emotional or personal risk psychopath. You, the content creator, are compelled to perform for the silent viewer. Why? Because the lurker holds the key resources, the view count and the watch time. The commenter gives you short-term satisfaction. The lurker gives you long-term algorithmic leverage. The lurker's sustained silent attention is the only metric the platform truly respects. This creates a perverse dynamic. The commenter, the noisy, feeds the creator's ego validation. Of the lurker, the signal feeds the creator's wallet algorithm. The lurker has successfully inverted the power structure. They force the creator to change their entire strategy, the pacing, the editing, the hooks, to capture their silent, unwavering attention while offering nothing in return. They are the market, demanding perfection, enforced by the simple, powerful threat of closing the tab. We have cracked the surface. We have identified the strategic nature of their silence, how they weaponize the bystander effect, and how their positive traits are, in fact, dark tactics of self-preservation and resource acquisition. But the story of the silent predator is rooted in history, in the timeless strategies of power that predate the internet by centuries. How did Niccolo Machiavelli, observing the chaotic princes of Italy, codify the very principles that now govern the digital lurker? And how did one of the most chilling psychological studies of the last century perfectly predict their modern behavior? The answer requires us to leave the comment section and enter the darkness of a university basement. That lesson, the historical and clinical blueprint for modern digital detachment, will fundamentally change how you interact with every screen you encounter. If you are ready to see the real-world masters who pioneered the strategy of silent observation, then subscribe. Because the next segment, where we journey from the dark cells of the Stanford experiment to the calculated silence of Napoleon's battlefield, will make you rethink everything you believe about human nature. The belief that silence is strategy is not new. It is an ancient truth, older than the internet, older than the printing press. It is a fundamental law of power, articulated by those who understood that the ultimate control belongs to the observer, not the performer. To understand the silent predator, we must enter the crucible of human chaos, the psychological laboratory and the battlefield. We must ask what happens when ordinary people are given the chance to act, but choose the strategic advantage of complicity or reserve. We begin not with a battle, but with an experiment that exposed the rot at the heart of the human psyche. The moment the environment overrides morality. The Stanford Prison Experiment SPE, though ethically tainted and heavily critiqued, remains a chilling illustration of how roles define behavior. It did not merely show how guards become sadistic, it showed the true power of the silent co-conspirators. We focus not on the aggressive guards, but on the majority who were passive. In the SPE, many guards did not engage in active cruelty. They simply watched. They permitted the acts of aggression, often through calculated non-intervention. They were the original lurkers of a corrupt social structure. Their silence was not neutrality. It was active assent. It was the ultimate psychological tactic of the coward and the strategist. The preservation of plausible deniability, but not participating, the passive guards maintained the internal fiction that they were better than their sadistic colleagues, while benefiting from the system of control the sadists enforced. This is the moral ambiguity that fuels the digital lurker who consumes dark, hateful content but never posts. I am only watching. Therefore, I am not responsible. With the strategic reserve of moral capital, they conserved their energy. They did not exhaust themselves policing the aggressive guards, nor did they waste effort trying to help the prisoners. They kept their options open. Had the experiment gone differently, their silence would have allowed them to pivot quickly and claim moral high ground. The lesson from the Stanford basement is this: in any oppressive or chaotic system, silence is the most effective tool of the system's maintenance. The 90% in your comments section, by not commenting, tacitly endorse the status quo, no matter how toxic the 1% becomes. They are the silent, supportive structure of the community's dominant culture. To truly grasp the strategic value of non-participation, we must turn to Machiavelli, the master of cold, empirical political science. His lessons, articulated over 5 centuries ago, are the spiritual charter of the silent predator. The prince, in Machiavelli's ideal, is not the loudest voice, he is the quietest, the most calculated. The entire text is a manual for strategic observation. On the people, Machiavelli advises the prince to constantly study his subjects, not to engage in idle chatter with them. The prince must appear decisive, but his decision-making is fueled by invisible intelligence. He watches the ebb and flow of public sentiment, the whispers of his enemies, and the subtle shifts in allegiance among his allies. He is the ultimate political lurker. On virtue and appearance, Machiavelli famously taught that it is not necessary to possess virtues, but it is necessary to appear to possess them. The silent predator lives this. By not commenting, they maintain a perfect, unassailable image of virtue, intelligence, or neutrality. Their silence is a blank canvas upon which the creator projects their desired audience member. The lurker's greatest asset is their mystery, the avoidance of contempt. Machiavelli warns, a prince must guard himself against being despised and hated. Nothing breeds contempt faster in the digital world than a poorly timed, ill-informed, or clumsy comment. The lurker, by remaining silent, practices absolute contempt avoidance. They deny their critics a target and deny the crowd a chance to judge their competence. Their strategic silence shields them from all digital casualties. The Machiavellian lesson is clear power flows to the mind that prioritizes observation over expression. Do you value your peace of mind more than your digital voice? Most people deep down do. They are just too afraid to admit that their silence is a calculated, strategic choice. Comment your take. Would you use this tactic to protect yourself from the digital war zone, or do you feel a moral obligation to engage? Let the world see your position. The strategic mind knows that sometimes the only way to win the war is not to fight the battle. Now, let's see this principle in its most devastating form: the military reserve. In military strategy, the reserve is the unit held back from the main engagement. It is the force that watches the battle unfold, absorbing the enemy's moves and the fatigue of its own side, but remains motionless. Napoleon Bonaparte, a master strategist, often won battles by deploying his imperial guard, his strategic reserve, only at the absolute point of maximum exhaustion in the enemy. While the front lines are consumed by chaos and local tactical decisions, the commander and the reserve have a global, real-time intelligence advantage. They see the complete picture of who is tired, who is vulnerable, and where the enemy has committed their last resources. The sight of an unspent, perfect, elite force moving into position when the enemy is spent shatters morale. It is the ultimate psychological weapon, the sudden appearance of power that had been silently watching. The silent predator is your strategic reserve. While the 1% exhaust their opinions, their time, and their reputation in the comment section, burning through their social energy, the lurker is saving theirs. They are observing the market, the creator, and the community dynamics. When the time comes for them to launch their own project, their own business, or their own persuasive move, they enter the field fresh, informed, and carrying the unspent psychological weight of the entire 90% majority. They have learned all the mistakes from the frontline soldiers without suffering a single wound. This is the ultimate Machiavellian play, letting others perform the costly, visible labor of experimentation while you steal the refined, low-cost information from their failures. We now know the lurker's mind is built on the ruins of the SPE and the strategic doctrines of Machiavelli. Their silence is not a void, it is a calculation. But how does this strategic reserve manifest in the cold, hard currency of modern influence? Where do they strike and what are they taking? In the next segment, we will leave history behind and move into the corporate boardrooms, the dating market, and the subtle, manipulative world of AI and big data. We will see the modern application of the silent predator, and I will show you how to spot the invisible hand manipulating the rules of your life. Subscribe, because the next lesson will make you rethink everything you believe about competition and control.